What's going on, people? What's going on, people? Just gonna wait a little bit and see if people decide to join. If not, I'll be talking to myself, which I do all the time anyway. Hopefully everyone's been having a good week. It's been pretty busy for me. Hectic. All of my students have had finals week. We just got done with the last day of finals. We're off tomorrow, and we're into the new trimester starting Monday. Yeah, it's been a week. It has been a week. But what are you guys up to? I hate that Streamlabs does this. I had to go into Streamlabs one day, just start playing with the settings. Been really lazy about that. Haven't had much time anyway. If you guys didn't catch the Kaiju number 8 chapter, definitely do that. If you're not reading Kaiju number 8, you should probably just unsub. That's just what it comes down to. Alright. Oh, dude, I hate that I made that spelling error. The goat, and it got aired. All because of that spelling error. That's why it got aired. No one really messes with the Kaiju number 8 posts. I hate that. So I'm the hive leader of Kaiju number 8, guys. You gotta support. You gotta support. But yeah, I thought I'd just stream today and talk about last chapters. I don't think I got to. Last chapter was pretty insane. Oh, I want to check this post because I had I left a comment on someone. I chose violence. I just want to see how it turned out. I guess for those of you that don't know, I have my settings to where like what's it called? Only people that follow I get notifications for. So I have to check in on some of the stuff if I actually care about it. This one's funny though. Because this dude was hella bashing on this post, and this is why I don't take BC fans seriously. And the post, if you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. It was just unnecessary, but it was so perfect. I loved it. And then this fool commented that. So, I don't know if you guys like know the feature, but you can actually look up like key terms for someone on their personal page. And I found this on his, where he literally makes like the same-ish joke and is talking about he doesn't take BC fans seriously. That's crazy, but I love that I found it. I hope it was him who liked it. Just thought that was hilarious. I was dying. Anyway. Anyway. What's going on, Shelly? Hello, Alex. Okay. Yeah, this is a good tweet. That was perfect. I'm glad it blew up. Last time I saw it, it was like in the mid 100s. So that's a tough ratio, though. That's a really tough ratio. Yeah. Woof. Take that one home with you. Okay. Let's talk about Black Clover, though. You any of you eat this? I saw this debate on Will's on Will's page. This is definitely some country stuff. My dad's side is from Mississippi, and he would try to get me to eat this. Cornflakes make me gag, though. It's the most disgusting cereal I've ever had in my life, and it takes zero time to get soggy too. Like, it's just gross. It just ugh. Tastes and feels like you're eating wet cardboard. Frosted wet cardboard. Ugh. Gross, gross. There's better cereal out there. Anyway, okay. I did pull up TCB so I could read it with you guys. Of course, I'm not going to do the actual chapter that was translated by Viz, because then they're going to attack me in my channel, break my kneecaps, hunt my family down. You know, don't need that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I don't think we talked about this chapter last week, so we're definitely going to do that and talk about some other things that I've been trying to make threads and other videos about. Alex, I don't know if you already answered this, but what are your thoughts on the 2-week breaks of the Black Clover manga? I haven't answered it. I really don't comment on like the like what's going on in the background of the series, because I'm not too well educated on what's going on with Tabata. I've been hearing it's like he's sick, I guess, and I know this isn't the first time, and that really sucks, because these guys, I don't know if you guys have like seen how much they get overworked, like mangaka in general. So things like stress definitely plays a physical role, and it takes a physical toll on you guys. So, you know, putting out these chapters week after week with great art, like back-to-back flawless art, you know, at the end of the day, it's just not a healthy lifestyle. You know, they're up at really odd hours. They don't get to see their families as often as they want to. So all that stuff takes a toll, and I'm not really surprised. It is kind of sad, though, you know. But thankfully, this is the final saga, so at least Tabata can like take a break, and you know, maybe he'll hit us up with another series. You know, I'd really love it if he revamped Hungry Joker. I think that series would have been something really, really amazing. And I think now that he's captured a good audience, Hungry Joker could take off a lot better than it did. So, you know, hopefully this all ends well for Tabata. I'm sure it will. But yeah, it's been sad to see that sort of stuff happen. Shelly Jack, I just noticed Tabata had mentioned his original story was supposed to be a demon with amnesia. I found it interesting. Yeah, that's pretty much one of my theory on Asta is that Asta and or Libe, where they are actually Lucifer, and they just don't know it. So it's like an Eren Yeager sort of thing where something's gonna happen to awaken like who he was in a past life. Not that I'm saying that's exactly what happened with Eren Yeager in Attack on Titan, but you know, he had this huge turnaround for his character, and I think it's going to be something similar with Asta. His existence is not an accident, and the only devil we've got no mention of is Lucifer, and that's something I've been stressing since the beginning of this channel, is that Satan and Lucifer are super different beings. So, and people, I don't know why, I guess I need to scream it from like a higher mountain, but people just don't hear me when I say it or tweet it, that Lucifer is not within the Clobotic tree, the tree of death. He's not there. He's the 3 veils outside of the tree. So that's the only way he could rival God anyway. And meddle with the affairs of humans is if he did that, existed in the chaos beyond the tree. That's just how it works. So that's, you know, interesting that you bring it up. But yeah, it's been a running theory on this channel, and yeah, I'm hoping that it does turn out to be the case. It'd be cool I think if I had to like firmly say it, I think it'd be better if Libe was Lucifer and Asta ends up being, you know, an angel, and I'm still pushing that that Metatron theory out, because then it gives us the tree of life, the highest, and then the lowest on the tree of death. But both coming together to work with each other. And I was going to talk about also Asta's possible innate ability that I have talked about just on Twitter, and we can probably pull up that tweet a little bit later. But it has to do with the perfect light and dark combination that I think is Asta and Liebe. But yeah, let me see what else you guys are saying before I get into this. Doubled, what's up? So Shelly said he really hopes Rod is doing okay. I wonder if he's caught a cold from his daughter, because I heard his family was sick with a cold. Yeah, probably. Brian, I've never seen you on this channel, I don't think, so welcome if you're new. I'd rather Tabata take his time and recover to get better, even if it means we get quality content. Like, you mean like low quality content? Or like, you want quality content, so, okay, I see. Instead of working through being sick and yeah, I get that. And he really can't afford to do that in the final saga. Like, he's got to close it strong, so I'm sure that's what he's going to do. I'm sure he'd rather give people quality stuff as in the final saga than just kind of, you know, bum rush through it. So I'm sure that's what the plan is, but all good thoughts to Tabata and his family, of course. So let's get into this. Let's see what's going on. I only read this chapter once, or maybe like twice, maybe. So it'll be kind of a refresher for me too. Alright, so a confrontation breaks out between Asta and Ichika. A real battle commences under the guise of training. Okay, Ichika's form is really cool. I do really like that. This is super cool, by the way. And it just so happened, like we were just talking about how this series could be reflecting what happens in Inuyasha, which is a really old series. And there's a character named Miroku who has a black hole in his hand. Now, the black hole is super cool because he absorbs things like techniques, he absorbs physical objects. Nothing can really escape it, and not even himself, though. So the really cool thing about Miroku is that the black hole, every time he uses it, it gets bigger and bigger. And the sad thing is that at some point in his life, the black hole is going to consume him, and there's nothing will be left of his body, but there will be a black hole just like existing in the world. Kind of crazy, and I don't remember exactly what happened. I don't think they ever showed that, but yeah, it's a pretty cool concept. And he covers his hand with with like rosary beads. They're like sacred beads, to negate the effects of it and slow down the process of it, you know, taking up his whole body. So it's really cool that Ichika did that. I saw like one account on Twitter was trying to say that they took it from One Piece, but this is not a new idea by any means. So I'm pretty sure Inuyasha was maybe the first to do that. So Asta's getting sucked in, and it's really cool because like it's it's just stressing how like gravity seems to be like the ultimate kind of magic, right? And this is exactly what he's fighting up against. Not exactly gravity, but you know, it is definitely dictating where he moves and how he moves. So now he pulls out Union finally. So it confirms, like, I was always confused too. And, of course, this symbol should always show up in Union. So, kind of stupid of me to think that it was not. Or, his previous forms were Union. So, this black form, I guess, is pretty strong. I just don't see the value in Asta not really trying up until now. You know what I mean? The magic power, or rather your Yoku, she's using on my body. I'll cancel it out. Great, because it's magic. She kicks him into the waterfall. She comes through. That's a really good shot, by the way. Asta comes up with what looks like his infinity slash, or infinite slash. But where did she go? Oh, she dodged it. Okay. Would she have been hurt by it, though? Is my question. I'm wondering if this is really the sword he wants to use against her. If he's really trying to defeat her, right? Because at the end of the day, this is Yami's sister, and Asta's a good enough guy to understand that he doesn't want to harm anyone related to Yami. So, no matter how much shit she was talking about him. So, yeah, I'm wondering if she really would have got hurt by that. Swings again. This is where she changes her trajectory. Now, this was a really cool part in the chapter. Probably one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite part. I just love that there's the black star, because this is an actual thing in real life. This is like, it's bordering on a singularity and a black hole, and it has these exact gravitational qualities. So really awesome that Tabata includes this, and I did make it a point to, like, we have to realize this is, if and when it comes down to it, this is exactly how Asta's going to have to deal with Hino's stars, which is really effortless, right? The Demon Destroyer sword will just take care of it all. And that could really stop Hino in his tracks. I wonder, though, if he could limit the effects of this causality breaking, because now it's one thing to, like, take out all the stars, which is really cool, but I think it's even better to kind of do the rope-a-dope. So if you don't know what a rope-a-dope is, it's a boxing technique where for like a full round, maybe two, a fighter is playing against the ropes. They're not really throwing any attacks. If they do, there's no real power behind it, no intent to knock out the opponent. The real objective of those rounds are to make the enemy tired, fatigue them, so that when the 4th, 6th round come by, you still got gas in the tank. This guy's struggling now because he's been trying to knock you out, and you've only been playing defense, and you survived that whole time. So kind of a rope-a-dope here, where if he can limit, like, let's say he brings it down to 1 star that he's aware of, but maybe acts like he's not aware of, then each could use that star, and he's counting on this, right? So he starts to go towards her, but then is ready and nimble enough to go towards the star that he intentionally left, so that she's now trapped and cornered herself into his next attack. I think that would be the best thing, especially for someone like Hino too, where he's going to be teleporting. So it's I really do hope he can control exactly what it negates. But let's keep going. My Dark Yojutsu works best with Taijutsu and Kenjutsu. If you don't know what Kenjutsu is, it's swordplay pretty much. Black Star creates a gravitational pull that I use to create an opening in my enemy, but in this case I've cast it on myself so that he can't predict the trajectory of my aim. Really cool, because she's confirming, like, this is a parallel to Hino here, right? He can use the stars on himself and also on other people. You'll never catch me. I don't think she actually says "you bastard" in the originals. They just go ham in TCB. Yojutsu, magic, that alone is enough. This is a battle of strength, and this duel will be decided by how well you can pull off a Zetten. I've got it this time. So, Asta, you can see with his eyes, this seems to be the marker for Zetten happening here, right? So, that first swing, I guess there was no Zetten behind it, right? Because he's obviously surprised. I think he was waiting for something to happen. But remember, he's using the Demon Slasher, right? So, again, I have to ask the question, would it affect her even if he actually did pull it off? You know what I mean? And who knows, maybe he did pull it off and it just didn't affect her because it only hits things that he does not want to protect. So, interesting. So she says, there's no chance in hell you can beat me in a Zetten clash. A person of the highest status on the same level as the Shogun, the Wizard King, was it? With you, no, I didn't like this part at all, because this was completely not true. She had zero reason to say this. She doesn't even know the kid. So, this really brought Ishika's personality. Like, I don't like her personality at all. as of currently because of this panel, mostly. So yeah, no determination, no conviction, no competence. You can never become someone like that, which is ridiculous. Like, she's never seen the journey this kid has taken, and he's come like a crazy long way. And we'll get into it towards the end, but I think that's exactly why Heath is back. I think not only is it like a big, what the hell moment, it's a writing device, because Asta, we talked about this in the stream when it happened too. When does his flashback, when they're talking about what happened with Asta among all the captains, shows the flashback before the ceremony, and Asta still thinks that he doesn't contend with so much because does technically rank higher than him. But Asta doesn't seem to realize that he is in fact above and understands that. And I wouldn't say he's bothered by it, but it's a rivalry, so he wants to live up to the expectation that Asta has set for him. And it doesn't seem that he believes that he's holding up that standard. So where he might look a little bothered is just more like an inner turmoil that reflects like when Asta had sustained those wounds fighting against the Longrees, and goes to visit him in the infirmary or wherever he was resting, and sees Asta crying. He turns his back on him because that wasn't the guy he grew up with. His rival pushed through every obstacle and never got down on himself. So turning his back on him was more of a this isn't the guy I know, and I don't respect that. He's no longer living up to the standard that I held for him, so he can't be my rival. But of course, Asta bounced back, and I think he realized in that moment too that this wasn't him, and he's just got to learn to bounce back, and there will be another time they get to fight. So, each kid saying all this stuff is complete BS. I hate it. So Asta says, "I can feel it in your ki, the anger you feel towards Captain Yami and me." And then, but that's not the only thing you have on your mind, is it? And she says, "Don't talk like you know me." So I hate that she says this, because here she is talking to Asta like she knows him. She's a rules for thee and not for me type of character right now, and I hate that. Really do. So Asta says, "I figured it out, my Zetten style." I think the officials say the shape of my Zetten. And so he says, "If I can pull off a perfect Zetten, I'll win." So I do like this, because not only is Asta aware of what he needs to do in order to pull off the Zetten now, but he understands that his Zetten is already superior to that of Ichiko's, which is a huge deal. Because so far, we only have Ichiko to compare to, really, but her Zetten is pretty crazy, right? So, whatever Asta's got in the tuck is pretty crazy. And then we got Ryu blocking both attacks. So, at first, I thought that that at least Asta's sword had made contact, which it did. But it looks like this isn't really anything to do with like applying Yoryoku or anything like that. If we look really close, it looks like he's using, I've been saying like in Aikido sort of style, where the objective is to use the momentum of your opponent and redirect that momentum and use it against them. And that's what it looks like, because he's got Ichiko's, looks like the bottom of her hand that controls the sword, which is the most important part in that moment. Then it looks like he uses his elbow to redirect the broadside of the blade, so that he doesn't actually get cut, but he can redirect where it goes. Very just simple movements, and nothing was wasted here. So very efficient fighter. Just from this panel, we can see he's extremely efficient, and he doesn't waste any movements. But The other thing here, though, is that this shows us some really crazy uh, speed feats and defensive stats for Ryu, though, or maybe not defensive so much, but you know what I mean. This is a huge feat, going up against a Union Asta and Ichika, who has been challenging him, and he blocks their attacks like they're nothing at all. So that's pretty wild, pretty wild. So then Ichika, I beg your forgiveness, Ryu-sama. As an apology, I'll cut my stomach open at once. I would not have cared if she did it. And he's saying, you're scaring me, cut it out. And then, you don't seem to be doing so hot yourself, Asta. You're bleeding a bit there. And then Asta's just bothered. I like that he's not super concerned with his well-being. He's always got that forward momentum, right? Most people would be trying to address their wounds and stuff, and he's got what's called an inner locus of control, right? Where he didn't just equate this battle as Ichika's stronger than me, so I've got to get stronger than her. It's more of a matter of I've got to find it within me to pull off this Zetten, to stay in the game, and I like that about Asta. Just now, I couldn't perform Zetten. No matter how you look at it, this was completely my loss. If only I could get the hang of it, I just need a little more time. Well, time is not on our side. Ryu, is your arm alright? I'm so sorry. I'll just head on down to Fumito so you can look after me and cook me some grub. So I really think he's just playing a part here. I don't think he was damaged at all, but he's playing the part because I think he, not necessarily in an evil sense, but I do think he's got something to hide for good reason. So he comes off as a person that not only has no Yoryoku, but maybe comes off as a bit defenseless. But I think in this next chapter, with the paladins having arrived, we'll see what he can really do. And the craziest thing is that Benzaiten is a water deity, one of the highest ranks of devas, who associates with water. And then you have Ryu from the Ryudo clan, who I've been assuming is more so related to the Gozuryu, the five-headed dragon from their legend of the land. So I think what we're going to see here is kind of that legend play out a bit. Not the exact thing, but the parallel to that. So this should be really cool because, like I said, Benzaiten was the water deity, and Lily has water magic. And in the encounter between the dragon and Benzaiten, the dragon never died, by the way. In most of the legends, or the tellings of the legends, the dragon doesn't die. Maybe in like one or two. But what happens usually is that the dragon ended up falling in love with Benzaiten. Benzaiten really had no feelings for the dragon, but kind of let him on, and let him on enough so that she could take the jewel that was in his possession. Now, this jewel we went over in the last stream was the wish granting jewel. So, and they never really talk about what goes on with that jewel after she obtains it, but she does get it from it, and I think they just enshrine it and do nothing with it. But it's not too specific on that, but it's a pretty big deal that it had it. But yeah, so she's a water mage, and then in this legend in Black Clover, the encounter created a rift, right, between time and space, or just space. I don't know what they said exactly, but we see that Lily also has the spatial magic of Beelzebub. So this really could go down in the way that the legend shows it, and it's going to be a natural progression too, and it's not just an arbitrary like parallel to that legend, because remember the legend in the Four Kingdoms are that Lumiere takes down the ancient demon that was licked. And then later on, Asta takes on an ancient demon of his own, just parallel that legend, right? This will be more of the same thing, where that legend was with Benziton, the Celestial Maiden, between the five-headed dragon, and this will be the same-ish thing here, right? Where Ryu himself is completing that legend and carrying it on. And that was the end of the chapter there. Pretty good chapter. I'm really bummed, right? Like, what perfect timing to get sick, because everyone wants to know what's going to happen. And we have to consider a lot of things. Before we really dive into it, though, I see you guys are leaving comments, so I will read them. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Brian Curtis, Miroku, the lecherous monk, was awesome. Yeah, dude. Miroku is dope. I really liked him. Salik, I believe the black hole on his hand was canceled. The curse was lit. Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. Interesting. Oh, yeah, actually, I think you're right. Okay. Yeah. Black Knight, do you think Asta can do anti-magic ki blast? I think he's been doing that. Okay. Do you mean like a death thrust for Yami? Because even still, I do think the answer is yes. Yami and Asta have very similar magic, and we're magic or not even attributes, like very similar. I guess I can say attributes, kind of not really. There's no perfect word to put on that, but we're gonna talk about it in this stream because I've been noticing a couple things. But yeah, I think he can do like a death thrust if that's what you're asking with anti-magic, and that would look crazy. That'd be like an, oh man, that'd be really hard to defend against. Not gonna lie, especially at the speed that like Yami ended up doing it, and Asta has already done like a key only one against Liebe, or we can assume it's key. And even if it wasn't key and that was just his physical ability, like, it's going to be something serious. Like, probably more deadly than what we saw with Yami. Okay. I lost my spot. Okay, there we go. Shelly, I mean, the demon inside her is Astaroth. What? Wait, who are you talking about? Probably Ryuda has a deal with Astaroth to create a body in order to get Ichika back. But I think Paladin Radis will torment Ichika by resurrecting her dead clan. Interesting. But who are you talking about with Astaroth inside of her? Ichika? Because that wouldn't be the case. Black Knight. Like Luck did against Veto. I'm missing what you mean by that. Sorry, I should look at this more often. Salik, yes, the Demon Slasher would affect her because the Demon Slasher doesn't affect people if he doesn't want to, but it still cuts people. So, what I mean is, like, no, not even that. Because, remember, he even cuts through Nox's arm, right, with the sword itself. So it wasn't just a slash. And it's not in Asta. Like, Ichika's the one who wanted to, like, fight him, even if it killed him. And I don't think... I'm going to stand on that pretty firmly. I really don't think that sword would have done anything for Asta in this battle. It's just not... It's Yami's little sister. Like, Asta would be a complete douche if he actually wounded her with that sword. So I respectfully disagree, Sleek, but you could be right. Shelly, and okay, are you continuing what you were saying? Her dead clan and awaken Astaroth. Probably Asta will reach out to Ichika and he meets his past self, Astaroth. Okay. Sleek, Asta is way too humble for his own good to the point where he doesn't recognize his own strength. I do get some of that. It's internalized doubt, though. Right. That's always how he's been. He's just a very humble kid, and I like the series for a multitude of reasons, and we have talked about psychology on this channel, and just the psychology of Asta. It's a natural thing, right? He's been getting told he can't do this because he has no magic. He can't do that because he has no magic. He can't become Wizard King because of that. Like, everything is Asta. You can't do this, but every time he's blown past that obstacle. Now, with those words, even if you feel like you're not affected by it, you are. You take those things in, and it gets reflected. And there's an actual term for this that I'm not remembering at the moment, but those things get reflected in the personality, and Austin has shown that on many occasions, where he all those things that people were saying to him almost like pile up until they become his own words when he starts losing. So it's really sad, but Tabata's really painting this picture really well for Asta. Shelly, if Ichika isn't Lucida, what? And she isn't what? I'm lost, Shelly. I'm not gonna lie to you. How did Ichika become Lucida, and why is she pregnant? I'm thinking Asta could be Lick's son, second reincarnation that's sent into the past by Astaroth, who stole Yuno's body. Okay. Whew. Okay. So, I'm not mad at the Asta possibly being like a reincarnation of like Lick's son or something. I'm not mad at that. One of my biggest theories that I've been standing on for 2 years now is that Libe was one of the twins. So, if it ends up being Asta, like becoming a reincarnation of that, I'd be down with that completely. The rest, I'm not so sure about. How am I going to say this? Hash Shashin. I'm going to call you Hash, though. She contradicted herself. You talk about Ichika, because she does that. Shelly, you thought about something? Remember you had mentioned Charming in your stream? I do. Helix. How's it going? Tabata got sick, but God of War Ragnarok dropped, so I'm entertained for now. Oh, yeah, it did, huh? I don't game, but I do want to play God of War Ragnarok. Shelly, you think you could be right that Yuno is Astaroth? Didn't you just say someone else was Astaroth here? Yeah, you just said Asta could be Lick's son, who's the second reincarnation. Oh, sent into the past by Astaroth. So wait, what? Oh, and stole. Oh, okay, I didn't read that all the way through. Okay. I disagree with the Yuno thing. I don't see it. I mean, the strongest point, I guess, for Yuno even being considered having to do anything with Astaroth is when time stopped before he got Sylph. But other than that, I wouldn't say so. And there's more of an argument that I already made videos on too when that happened, was that time stopped because his wind magic is actually Aether, and he didn't really stop time. He stopped motion by stopping the Aether or taking it out of the room so that there was nothing that they could move in at the time. So I think there's quite a bit of evidence for that. Sleek, when he said he will be able to do Ki Blast with anti-magic and he brought up Luck, he meant like when Luck does the Thunderbolt destruction, or like when Goku shoots out those balls of Ki. I don't remember. Oh, okay, I know what you're saying. It's in my intro too. I use that shot. Okay. Oh, okay. So you mean like actual, like, yeah, like Dragon Ball Z stuff. Okay. I don't think that's impossible. I don't see why not. Yeah. I mean, it's a part of, what's it called? Yeah. No, not Tai Chi. It's Qi Gong, maybe? Where they do try to practice, like, forming, like, an energy ball with your ki, right? And that's when a huge amount of, like, scams came out, where it's like, you can, I could knock out a whole squad of people by just, like, pushing my ki at them. And, yeah, it was ridiculous. If you guys haven't seen those videos, you should watch them. They're kind of funny. Helix, maybe you said it earlier and I'm too late, but who do you think the other paladin is? What's everyone's thoughts? So that's a good question to segue into what's going on. So we've got Heath and Lily, right? And then this character is really interesting, right? Because their wings are super small. um, and they're crouched down like a little gremlin. This person doesn't seem like they were good in nature, right? Like, I don't know. They're just off. And I've been leaning towards this as Roddy's because I think they could really use someone like Roddy's. And it seems that they're really gunning for former members of the Third Eye. And he is one of them. And he would be really useful in these situations, right? Especially if there are paladins that Lucius might want that are deceased. Roddy's would be good. And the stipulation for Roddy's before was he has to actually know a mage, and it has to be close to them in order for him to be able to manipulate their souls and actually resurrect them. But you can never be too sure with like this paladin stuff, right? We see that Lily has taken her spatial magic and had no clue where she sent Asta. Has never been to Hino, and even in this form even says she thought it was just a legend. Had no idea it existed. So we can say that the stipulations of that magic would be completely gone, giving him the ability to resurrect whoever he wants to, really, which is really good for Lucius, right? And it gives them more of an army instead of just being the 10 of them plus Lucius, fighting against the world. And the cool thing too is that we do have to kind of understand that these guys are probably not here to like kill everybody, unless they see them as demons, because that's something we talked about before is or in my last video, where the people of Hino could be part of what's called the Deva path in the cycle of reincarnation, meaning that they are part god, part demon, and they might also have a heart like Yami's, at least the Ryuzen and Ryu. So I'm thinking if they're going to kill anyone, if they do, it's because of that. But yeah, anyway, they didn't kill Noelle and Sekre and Mimosa when she had the chance to. She just trapped them to make sure they didn't interfere, and she let them go. All the captains, they could have taken on the captains in that moment, and they chose not to. Their goal really doesn't seem to be killing people unless they are completely in the way of the plan. Which is Asta and right now Hino. On top of this, though, I don't think they're here for Asta. I know quite a few people think that they might be, but I think they're here just for something else that we're not quite sure about. Could be that wish-granting jewel. They might be here for Ryu and whatever's under his eye. Which might be that jewel. For whatever end, too. I'm not completely sure what Lucius would do with that. That, it could... I don't know. Maybe it's just needed for, like, the perfect bodies thing, however you make them. Because Bleach did it, too, now that I think about it. Oh, my God. What was that? It was the thing that Aizen used. Right, he infused what's it called? What's it called, guys? Aizen's jewel. The Hogyoku. Right? Yeah. Yeah, see that's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. Let's read about this, because this could very well be it, and this fits under the whole wish granting jewel thing too. Its use is desire manifestation. There you go. So it's the breakdown sphere. Is a small bluish purple orb composed of a unique substance thought to have been capable. Oh my goodness, these ads. Thought to have been capable of dissolving the boundaries between Shinigami and Hollow. So I guess putting that into perspective is like these are just souls, right? The Shinigami, and then Hollows are more demonic in nature. So if this dissolves the boundary, then they can exist in harmony, right? Allowing one race to attain the powers of the other. However, its true power lies in its ability to sense the hearts of those around it and materialize their deepest desire. Now that's a crazy, crazy thing, right? And what if that's exactly what's under his eye? Anyway, okay. Two Hogyoku are known to exist. The first invented by Sosuke Aizen, and the other by Kisuke Urahara. Ultimately, Aizen merged his orb with the latter's, forming a single Hogyoku. I don't know if I need to know the history of it. Let's see. Aizen presented his holes on. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't really need to know that. The plot, whatever. The powers. Let's go with the powers. Wait, what? Why is it talking about holification? Oh man, I really need to reread the Bleach stuff. Overbearing power. When Tessai Tsukubishi first witnessed the Hogyoku, he stated it possessed an overbearing power unlike anything else in Soul Society. A power completely unrelated to Ryatsu. Unrelated to Ryatsu, okay. He goes on to say its very presence felt as though it were trying to stifle his very existence. Now that's cool. So imagine, right? This Hogyoku type of jewel, this wish-granting jewel, this reality-making jewel, is in the skull of our guy Ryu, and that eye patch is more like Kenpachi, right? Where Kenpachi's Ryatsu was stifled and kind of sealed. Most of it was sealed with that eye patch. But instead of sealing like his Yoryoku, per se, he's sealing the power of that jewel under that eye patch, which would serve as a sealing tool as well, right? Very, I think it would be really interesting, which would explain why people don't sense anything from him. But I like this part in particular. It's a power completely unrelated to the main system, which is why, they don't sense it like that, like normally, right? Cool stuff. Desire materialization, I think, should be pretty self-explanatory, but we'll read it, I guess. Though initially thought to solely possess the power to control the boundary of the two contravening existences, that of Shinigami and Hollows, this was proven incorrect. Oh. Rather, the true power of the Hogyoku is the ability to absorb the desires of those around it and manifest them into reality. However, this power is not without limitations. The Hogyoku itself is merely a guiding force. It can only manifest the desires of those with the strength to carry them out. The events which happen around Ichigo, Rukia, and Kisuke Urahara were events materialized by the Hogyoku itself, which possesses a will of its own. Oh man, that's kind of intense. Okay, so then holification and Arankarification is, while not truly an ability of the Hogyoku itself, the orb took on this properly because it is what Kisuke Urahara desired when he invented it. Through the power, the Hogyoku could be used to bypass the barrier which separates Shinigami and Hollows. As such, it can cause Shinigami to undergo holification and Hollows to undergo Arankarification. These processes lead to the creation of a Hollow Shinigami hybrid and an Arankar, respectively. And then fusion, which is what we see Aizen end up doing with this, right? It ends up in his chest. As demonstrated by Aizen, the Hogyoku can be embedded into one's body, fusing with it almost completely. And in this state, the Hogyoku instinctively protects its master by healing its master's injuries almost instantly in a manner similar to a Hollow's high-speed regeneration. As the Hogyoku's will further understands its master's heart, the fusion between them progresses, restructuring his soul and triggering a transformation. I really like this, right? Because, okay. I feel like this is really more like, this is what's happening. Like, it's just canon in my head right now. How do you guys feel about this? Because look at Hino, and I wouldn't say they're living in complete harmony, right? But they're living in peaceful times, essentially. And Ichika did bring up a point that, like, Ryu's the reason why their land is as stable as it is. And Ryu's never really too bothered by anything. Everything's going according to plan, and it could be that he's not bothered because this is exactly how he sees it. Like, that's how he wants it. So he's really shaping the reality around him. So I do like this, and we know that Tabata loves Bleach. So, and this jewel thing, this is directly from the lore. Like, it's a wish granting jewel, and like I was saying in the Inuyasha thing, it's a real thing. So that's interesting. I forgot about the Hogoku actually, so I'm glad I kind of remember that. What are y'all saying in here? Okay. Shelly, he's Roddy's the zombie guy. I have a feeling that he will torment Ichiko with resurrecting the Yami clan. Didn't you just say that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That'd be kind of cool if he resurrects like the Yami clan. If that is Roddy's, that'd be cool. Does the hair having the black patch mean something like he's not entirely pure? Would it have? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but like Roddy's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what is up with this patch. That's the only thing that's confusing. But also kind of remember, this is similar to what happened with Raya as well, too, right? He had maintained some black streaks in his hair, and I don't know if they ever really divulge into why that was, but it did end up fully turning white towards the latter end of that arc. So, you know, it could have something to do with that, but they've never really explicitly said why stuff like that even happened. Chris, do you think Lucius got his idea for a perfect being because that's what Asta really is? Maybe a tri-brain. Like, are you saying being? Sorry, I was trying to correct it. I don't know if you needed correcting though. I do think Asta is a perfect body, or close to, probably the closest, if not Yuno. But I don't think he's modeling after anyone, really. I think he's following like his own hunch on what a perfect body would consist of. But yeah, I don't think he's really modeling it after Asta, if that's your question. Brian, yeah, the Hokyoku. Chris, Ichigo was possessed and Yami was killing zombie like family members, maybe because of the dragon, and when she snapped out of possession, all he saw was Yami during the aftermath. So that was okay. So the dragon, the lore of Benzaiten and the dragon is like the legend exists because the land that the people live on in real life is supposed to be the body of the dragon. So taking that legend and applying it to Black Clover, realistically, the land that they live on would be the dragon as well. So I'm not too sure if the dragon had anything directly to do with it, or actively at least. Now, I'm not mad at the whole, like, you know, them being possessed by something and Yami, like, really forcing his hand to kill them, you know, to stop the threat. So that makes sense to me, but I guess we would just have to see. It's just one of those, like, I don't know, like, no one really knows the story, it seems, and I'm wondering who really has the full insight. Now, we do realize that Ryu has had many opportunities to tell Asta this exact story, because, as we saw, he saw what Ichigo saw. But it doesn't seem that he paints Yami in a bad light whatsoever. So he must know more to that story at least. But then you have to question why he never told Ichika, like, yo, you got this whole story wrong. So something's up. Something really is up. Chris Yami will give his dragon heart to Ichika with maybe the host. Why would he give it to her though? Like, he's the chosen one. And yeah. Why give it to her? He he deserves it. And I think it'd be even better. Like, I think a lot of fan bases like seeing women stand alone and be able to hold their own. And I think Ichika's one of those characters that she already fought through her own destiny. Like, this is we're like over the halfway mark for her story. We just hopped in at the probably near the end of her, character arc. Because remember, women aren't useful fighters in the Yami clan, so her getting this form and it just directly proves that fate wrong. It proves that she is a fighter, and she's one of the best fighters, it seems, of the Ryus and Seven, even though we didn't really see much of anyone else. But it seems like she's that go-to Ryuzen, so yeah. I don't think she needs anything. I think she could definitely take on some high-level threats without any amps like that. Helix, oh, maybe the Roddy's guy is Bruce, the pervy soul that was trapped in the... Oh, that'd be cool. Because, yeah, that was one of the really interesting parts of the series that Tabata never fleshed out, was Bruce. Yeah. That would be kind of interesting, right? If it was. I would just like to know what that was all about, to be honest. I don't think it is Bruce, but I wouldn't even be mad if it was, because I just want that story to get cleared up. Like, why was there a Bruce? Why is his name Bruce? We got Noels, Yunos, Astas, Roddies, interesting names, and then we got Bruce. Like, what? And yeah, just casually talking to Noelle. Noelle never even questioned, like, why is this thing talking to me? And then she stops using it randomly. So I just don't know what to make of it. Let's see. Shelly, maybe Asta will get Ryuta's right eye after he loses his. You know what? I actually wouldn't be mad at that, because that ends up looking like Berserk. Where Guts lost his arm. Was it his right arm? I believe it was. Right? Let's check it out. I'm pretty sure it was his right arm. Guts and Berserk. Oh, it's his left arm that's gone. But he's missing his eye too from the eclipse. So yeah, that would give it more of a Berserk vibe. I think that would be kind of cool. So, yeah, I'm not mad at that. Chris, only reason I say dragon is because maybe it's a play on Satan and the red dragon being similar to the biblical constellation. Yeah, so that could definitely be it. The only difference is, like, there's no landmass associated directly to it's, in that case, that is definitely Satan, or, well, not really, it's Lucifer, but he's called Satan because he's directly opposing God in that moment. But yeah, the only thing is that with that legend or that piece of lore goes that Lucifer had swept down most of the stars, which were angels. I think it was a third of heaven's population, with his tail. And that was just on his fall. He didn't do it on purpose. So those angels This is where lore starts to kind of branch. So they say that those angels that he swept down with his tail ended up being demons in hell with him. But other lore suggests that those stars that he pulled down with his tail are actually the people here on Earth. And we were essentially trapped. And with that lore usually goes that Earth is hell. So it's a weird subject, but yeah, it's interesting nonetheless. So Helix, the reason she stopped using it is because it broke. What broke? Bruce. And the soul of Bruce was dispelled. She reconstructed it and put it on the bottom of her wand, but Bruce's soul was away. When did this happen? Was this like an anime episode? I could see Asta's Bang will cover his demon eye and Li Bei have an eye patch. Well, I don't think Li Bei... Oh, well, he does sustain the damage Asta sustains, so... Huh. Yeah, if they both lose an eye, though, they would need two. And there are two Hogyokus in Bleach. Huh. That'd be interesting. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad if Asta lost an eye. That's for sure. I think it's kind of expected at this point if we're following Berserk. Okay. What was I going to talk about? Okay. So I did want to talk about the nature of Yami's magic and Asta's anti-magic and something I've just been playing with in my head since last night. So I was reading back on the Patri versus Yami fight. I think it's like chapter 40 something, like 42-ish. And a lot happens in that fight that now make more sense in context, now that more of the series has been released, right? And one of those things is that Patri accurately breaks down Yami's fighting style and calls him out by saying that he uses his magic power to enhance his physical abilities, and he says that's not all though, and he never says what else it is, because I don't think he's even sure what else it is that Yami's doing, but we now know that he's also using ki to amp his physical ability with the mana on top of that, making him extremely strong. But then he goes on to say that his dark magic is naturally slow. So he's developed this style using the sword to make it faster. Now, and I couldn't find it, but I'm pretty sure Yami himself, I think it's just before the elves start taking over, maybe, that his sword is what makes his dark magic go faster, right? And without it, it's just terribly slow. And then I thought back to Asta trying to use Zeton for the first time against the bamboo trees, right? And it took a minute for it to actually hit and take effect, meaning that his Zeton is really slow. And it seems like it has more of an after effect, right? So I'm wondering, okay, so Yami's magic is slow, Asta's anti-magic without swords could also probably be just as slow, if not slower. So then we have to then look at dark magic, and again, going back to that fight with Yami and Patri in the cave, Patri notices, and this is something we all notice by now, I hope, is that magic is drawn to dark magic, right? So in the fight against Patri, for the first time we see Yami use a dark slash to redirect the light beams that Patri released to attack Yami. So he effectively dodges that attack. He uses Black Hole to do the same thing. Black Moon, a lot of the same as well during the Dante fight. It absorbs the magic and it completely erases it, right? And this erasure of magic, this drawing in of magic, is almost equivalent to anti-magic. Now, don't don't jump the gun yet, because there's more to this, right? But we see that anti-magic can obviously dispel things, but anti-magic also has this ability to draw itself to high sources of magic, right? So it's almost like an active dark magic that hunts down magic instead of waiting for magic to come to it. So now, to get into the next part of this is, if we look at dark magic and anti-magic as somewhat similar, right? Patri also says in that fight that dark magic is the polar opposite, meaning the exact opposite of light, or of light magic, meaning that we should take the concepts of dark magic and apply it in reverse to light magic. So where dark magic draws in spells, light magic should disperse spells, right? Now, we haven't really seen that, not that I can recall off the top of my head at least, but again, we're just applying that same concept of polar opposite here. And if light could disperse magic, then that starts to look like when Asta uses like a broadside of the sword, or even in with Demon Destroyer, he's literally dispersing the magic here, and you see this little ball of light, which could easily be just water. I think it's in the officials might be just water. Anyway, taking that concept, now we also have. Let's try and look for that tweet. I've been thinking this for a while now, and there's this really specific panel where Asta saves Noelle from herself, essentially, when she goes out of control at the Black Bull's base, and he has to save her. Might not be invisible light, but this works too. Oh, it's a thread. So it shows a rainbow behind Asta and Noelle. Well, maybe we can just Google it, because I would like to show you guys that panel, because I think it's really significant to what's actually happening. I don't think it's actually a part of this thread, but this does talk about the light that I'm going to be getting into, though. So here, in this whole thread, I talk about invisible light, which is referred to as astrum, also known as quintessence, which was like the meat and the heart of this channel a little over a year ago, which ends up being equivalent-ish, well, actually equivalent to Aether. Of course, his would be more of a negative sense, that since he has anti-magic, but the invisible light is the consciousness, and we see that Asta changes people. Like, he literally changes people and the makeup of how they think and how they feel towards certain things, especially when it comes to him directly. And that is, he's shedding this invisible light on them. And I've been wondering if Asta actually has a type of light magic we've never seen. Something way more pure than what we see with, like, dare I say, Lit or Patri, even Augustus, right? Something much more pure that might not be necessarily an offensive, in the offensive category, right? And this is where we start to get into the perfect light and dark qualities that Asta and Liebe have in order to create this perfect union and become a perfect being. So with this perfect light, this unknowable, unseeable light, we would equate this to something that's angelic in nature. And then we have Liebe. If darkness got any darker, it's going to be negating, like, everything, right? So if we take anti-magic and make it like, let's just say, like, the source of darkness, it's the thing that directly battles what you would assume God would be using in this series, right? Which would be mana. People that have more mana are called, or they say they're blessed by mana, right? And being blessed means that God is directly acknowledging you and your existence. Asta has no mana, meaning he's completely void and he's been forsaken by God, or the gods, however it ends up coming down to it. But it might not even be that Asta was forsaken. It might be that his whatever invisible light this is doesn't fall under the spectrum of magic, right? And it kind of goes back into what we were reading about the Hokyoku, where it has a different power source than the original power source of the series. So he comes off as empty when he really wasn't ever to begin with. But then the anti-magic is the dark antithesis to what everyone else has, this magic-based system that God creates to acknowledge his creations. So that's why I've always said Libe could be Lucifer, or even Asta could be Lucifer still. But both together are the light bringer, right? One is just the dark part of him, while the other is the light side, where he shows people their inner light. And I think that's a really cool story to bring on to Asta and incorporate in the series personally, of course. And I'm biased because it's a theory I've been banking on forever. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, but I think the similarities are just there for me between Asta and Yami's magic or attributes. It would seem that they have these very similar paths, right? But I do think Asta ends up with a type of light magic. But the reason why I kind of sidetracked. The reason why I brought up the rainbow, though, was because the rainbow represents all spectrums of light. And, this was... dang, dude. Miss on every single one of these. Oh, except for, I guess, mind, maybe. Spirit. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, it represents all spectrums of light. And there's some light that is just invisible. So, I thought it was possible there. It could be. What? Are you serious? It's not in here either. Woof. What else would it be in? Let's say light magic. I really tweet about light magic much, so it could be here. Sorry, I just want to see the tweet, see if I wrote anything else in there that I might be forgetting. Wow, she's pretty. Anyway, nope. Oh, bacon. Oh, I was like, why was I tweeting about light magic and there's bacon on there? No. Let's see. Man, it shows all the mentions. I don't like that. What is this? I don't even want to read it. Oh God, it's talking about licked. When I call Lick's magic light magic or it's sword. Oh God, yeah, I remember this. Oh God, we're getting to bad territory. This guy called me he called me something crazy because I was not backing down on the whole Licked having light magic thing. Damn, dude, those were the days. Those were the days. Yeah, this is... Oh, that's it. It's just the only time light magic is ever mentioned on my Twitter is with people arguing with me about Licked. Dude, I hate this place. Alright, well, I guess it's just lost into the Twitter void. But anyway, yeah. The whole spectrum of light is shown, and as he's helping up Noelle, and at that same time too, he's proving to Noelle that, he's worth something, even with no magic and with a power source that no one can explain. Uh, he's still proving himself in that instance. So he's shedding light on her as he's doing all of this. So really, I think it's just a really interesting take if we go down that route. Let me see what you guys are saying in here. Kaiju number 8. Okay. Helix, the reason she stopped using is because... Oh, okay, I saw that. Shelly, I could see Asta's... I saw that. Shelly, I'm not buying. Yeah, I don't know what you're not buying. Helix, that'd be a big callback if Tabata makes the Bruce. But hey, so is Heath. Yeah, that's true. Shelly, well, I think it would be cool that Asta's Bane covers his demon. You said that. Helix, the whole Bruce thing was fleshed out in a light novel. Oh, see, I'm like I keep saying, I'm super ignorant to like how manga works. I didn't even know there was a light manga for Bruce, or much less anyone else in Black Clover. Which are canon, okay. And then Bandit. I think Patri's 5-leaf clover is going to be important at some point, and maybe meant for Asta when his magic unseals. Yeah, I'd really like to know what's going on with that grimoire. I believe it's still on Patri, though, because he was carrying it with him when he was flying to the Spade Kingdom to be useless. But yeah, I would really like to know what's up with that, and to see that, it'd be interesting if like another devil was born through that, because it's unclaimed, and I don't know. And there's also the imagery too of when Libe is going through it just before the perfect devil union. It looks like Libe is almost born out of the 5th leaf, like literally born out of the 5th leaf. I don't know if I'd be able to find it. Or it could be on a TCB. We could look. But yeah, it was just a really weird and kind of random imagery. Because, at that point, no one's really thinking about, like, oh, Libe's from the 5th leaf. So, let's see. Always Anti-Magic Brothers. I think it was in this one. Really interesting. This chapter was called Brothers, and the cover page was of these like pseudo brothers here. That's also kind of cool. Okay. Nope. Yeah. Natanyami should have died there. Oh, this one right here. Yeah. So look, yeah. He's just like on top of the Clover, and I know this is a really crappy image, but in the officials even, it looks kind of odd, and it looks more like he is coming out of what is the 5th leaf, growing out of it now. So that was, yeah. It's just a really interesting thing. But you think at least by now that devil would be recognized, and it's not like Libe was exactly born out of that 5th leaf per se, or else he would have been in the grimoire already. So it's just interesting. There's a lot of elements still missing, right, in Black Clover, but I think things are getting answered now. Doubled. Are they still able to travel to the Shadow Palace? They should be. So I think they would need Nocta, though, for this, because that very clearly is a Foss thing. It's literally called the Shadow Palace. They're the only ones in this series with shadow magic. So I'd be surprised if the Shadow Palace doesn't come back. Because another important part of that, too, was the base that they used in the Gravito Rock Zone, or Grand Magic Zone, right? Where we have Satan, the devil of gravity, and gravity's all distorted there. So there's a lot still to explain. So I'd be very surprised if we never went back to the Shadow Palace. Very surprised, actually. see. Bandit, you like the invisible light thing? Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool. And I meant to finish that thought too, is that it would fit Asta's personality, right? Because we see that there are mages like Finro and Lolopechka where they're so pure at heart, they can't even form an attack ability. And Asta could very well be the same-ish if he has this, this invisible light power. Because, again, it's more passive. He's changing people down to the roots of their minds and souls. So it's not aggressive whatsoever. However, his anti-magic and his swords, of course, are. But the swords are just tools, right? Shelley, you could be right that Asta could be a true angel. Possibly. I really do lean into the hybrid theory, though. I think Broku could be onto something. And with all the nods to Bleach, it would be almost surprising if he wasn't a hybrid at this point. Helix, is there still that giant tree Vengeance made in the village the Diamond Kingdom attacked? Oh, and Kitten? It shouldn't be, I don't think, but they've never really circled back around to that. I wouldn't think so. These people still gotta live there. That means they'd have to be moving people either into like the Forsaken Realm or into the capital. And the capital's already, unless you have a ton of magic, you'd be living in the capital, and those people didn't. So that's why they're living there. Yeah, I'd say it's probably gone. So I think the real world tree is actually in Elysia, where all the souls were. At least that's how I see it for now. Bandit, I never noticed that Libe was part of the Fifth Leaf. Yeah, it was just a random thing that happened. Shelley, I believe Libe will turn out to be the real Hino and Astaroth? Oh, okay. What? The real Hino and Astaroth has stolen his body when he was little, and Astaroth has thrown Hino's soul into the underworld. But why would Libe be the real Hino? And didn't you say Hino would have been Astaroth in like another comment though? Oh, okay, wait. And Astaroth has stolen his body. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Shelley. I don't know about that one. Yeah, but anyway, that's what I was thinking about the anti-magic and light magic. And Helix, I did see it. I read it out loud. Why don't you listen, Helix? Jeez, man, you never listen. Just kidding, man. There are a couple of... Oh, okay. I'm here to pose a question to you guys. And if you can, I'd really like your input. Because we'll make it a tweet, too. So, I was going to tweet it out this morning... And I ended up only talking to WK Minato about it in our DMs. Because I was like, I don't know if I want to like put it out. Because then people might react and it'll go left. But I'm genuinely curious here. Because I started thinking about some possibilities with Ryu not having Yoryoku. And how he could still be a credible like fighter without Yoryoku, right? And I'm thinking that in the Four Kingdoms, people don't just have mana. Now there are several ways to apply mana. And then I started thinking about mana method and true magic, right? And then I read through the chapters too. They never specifically say that you need to have mana to be able to use the runes. Now, there is the fact that Gaja did tell Magna that he didn't have enough magic to pull this off. So that could be where this gets a little iffy. But mana method and true magic, to my understanding, I've always been kind of shaky on this, is that they're fundamentally different. Where mana method, you would need to have mana. Whereas true magic, it doesn't seem like it's actually that necessary to use. Or to have mana. You're actually just using the outside mana for your benefit. So now my question is, could it be possible for an empty vessel such as Asta or an empty vessel such as Ryu to use the Yoryoku or the mana from the outside area in order to pull off attacks? And the benefit they get from this is that they are not confined to a specific element or attribute, if you will, which could really help shape the flow of a battle. And really, they become like these ultimate mages in this sense, right? But I'm not really sure about it. I'm still hesitant to like tweet it right now. But I would like your inputs if you guys are interested in giving it to me. And if it turns out to be a good conversation, I wouldn't mind tweeting it actually. But I just think it was just something that popped in my head, and I thought it could be to their benefit that they don't have magic, but the rest of the world does. So why not have the world do the work for you? You know. But the way it would work out here, let me explain it like this, is that remember that in order to pull off things like this Zeton, what they do is they take their Yoryoku or their magic attribute, combine it with the key, and then pull off the attack. Now, they would have to, in a sense, dispel their key, or like externalize their key, in order to manipulate the Yoryoku or mana on the outside, and then use it that way. So their key is molding that mana for them, in that sense. And instead of it being an internal thing, it's completely external. So that's kind of my thought on that. And I like it, but I do think I'm probably missing some mechanics of mana method and true magic. So, it could just be a stupid thought of mine. But yeah. He looks, I don't know if you saw, oh yeah, we saw that. Brian, Hino is the spitting image of Lady CL and has King Moise's eyes that Liebe being Hino doesn't hold water. Yeah, I don't think it does either. I will say that I do think Liebe is the brother to the soul inside of Hino, or the spirit rather. He looks, I hope Paladin Lois will become a thing. I just need to see sun magic. Yeah, I want to see both their magics, and I swear they're from Hino. I swear they are. Because we don't see their grimoires ever. I've got to see a grimoire, or else they're just from Hino until I see otherwise. Shelly, remember the flashbacks in the first chapter where Asta saves Yuno from the bandit when they were little? I think little Yuno has accidentally contracted Astaroth with his stone when he calls out Asta. But a contract means that two parties are knowingly and consensually involved. So I'd have to disagree with that. But the pendant itself shows the four cardinal directions, and actually has to do with dimensions. I talked about this stone in another video. I don't remember which one because it's really old, but it has to do with converging dimensions. So whatever happened there was like a dimensional thing. At least from what I have speculated, not as fact, but whatever happened, I think definitely that stone played a huge part in how Asta really came to be who he is today, or the fighter at least, right? Because it seemed that the stones sparked the Grimoire to react to Asta. So it's just, I don't know, it's just a really interesting look at what happens. And then, what was the other thing? So yeah, that was one of the things I held on to for a long time. And then when the dungeon arc came around, when Asta was about to get completely annihilated by Mars, and time stopped. Before time stopped, though, it showed Yuno's grimoire. And that's why I say that it had to do with Aether, because his grimoire being a 4-leaf and him being a wind mage, it just doesn't make sense for like a 4-leaf to be like a regular attribute. You know what I mean? Because we do have wind mages and we have an air mage as well. But what would make wind more special? And the only thing that would do that is if it were Aether. Which is, by the way, Quan came up with that theory and I just ran with it. There is that. Helix, maybe Lois and Ciel are like Skull and Hati metaphor. Yeah, I do see that could be the case. It's just we would need to find the Sons of Fenrir, which we might not have. But yeah, we just might not have that. Because I've been waiting for the Sun and Moon to be caught or eaten, and we just don't really have that. But this was like in the heydays of the channel, honestly, like where all the theories were new. But I have looked into like Charmy's backgrounds in earlier videos where her food magic and knocks food that he pulls out randomly out of his pocket from the Spade Kingdom that heals the physical, like their stamina. Very similar. And Charmy looks like some of the female residents from Spade too, but they also look like they're from Hino. What if the Spade is just like opposite Hino? I don't know. There's something up. They all got the black hair in Spade. They all got the black hair in Hino. There's something up between those two lands, and they might be just opposites, right? Where like Spade is where they have the demons, right? The land of demons and hidden mysteries. Where Hino is more of like, it's hidden as well, but they might be, aligned with angelic beings. So I don't know. Or maybe just drag. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. Bandit, Gara, and Zora use runes. Gaja and Zora use runes in his trap, and he doesn't have as much mana. That is true. But wait, Zora, if I'm not mistaken, he actually does have a good amount of mana. I'm just looking at the guide here to see what they have in that. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. Because I feel like I remember looking into Zora and finding out that he actually does have like a decent amount of mana. And it was surprising because he shouldn't, right? Because Zara didn't have much. No. Why doesn't Zora have a page on the regular Black Clover thing? Like, you look up any other character. Asta. Oh, was I just assuming? Do they show the stats here? Oh, they do. Okay, so I just missed it because I'm impatient and a douche. Okay, so here we go. Let's see what it says. They had a lot written down for Zora. I didn't know there was that much. Okay, so magic amount 3. Okay, so he doesn't have too much. Okay, so yeah, then that is interesting because he is using runes for sure. So maybe it's I guess it's fair to take into account that the mages of the Heart Kingdom don't really know what they're doing either, because Charlotte walked in there for what, 2 to 4 weeks and mastered runes to the point where she purified herself. Which is, and they show the panel of it happening, where some of the spirit guardians are like crowded around her, like, dude, she's like a genius. What is she doing? So they don't have a grasp, and of course, it goes without mentioning, they suck too. So they're probably not the best with runes. So maybe, Asta could, or Ryu even could use runes to their benefit, and use, or not even runes, or just, externalize their ki to draw on the mana, to create an attribute they need in the moment. I think that'd be kind of cool. I'd at least be trying that if I were one of them, in that situation. And Brian, yeah, I do remember that he acquired that stone, and I've made videos talking about the stone coming from something equivalent to Hyperborea, which is how would you describe it? It's like it's a landmass that is inhabited by beings that have no bodies. They're ethereal, and they're Hyperboreans. And of course, this theory birthed itself via Yuno's, at the time, new form, the Spirit of Boreas, who, of course, is a Hyperborean, and so is Notice. And I don't think they really mention Zephyr, but it's assumed that the four winds fit with the Hyperboreans. And what they did was they would send gifts to Delos in Greece, but they couldn't go too far down, so they left these gifts in a land between the two, and one of the representatives from Delos would go to that land and retrieve that gift and bring it back. And one of those things was actually a gem, and it was not just a gem, but it was the gem that fell from Lucifer's crown, which was the Philosopher's Stone. Now, it goes back, and like I said, there's at least 5, maybe 6 videos on this, where I talk about how, like, the Hyperboreans are natural enemies with Atlanteans. And Atlantis was run essentially under the rule of Lucifer, where the Hyperboreans, I don't think they were really run by a specific deity. Not that I remember, at least. But what happens is Lucifer ends up kind of like getting into the ranks of the Hyperboreans and pulling one over on them. So through that stone, I believe, I'm forgetting the story, but I think it was through the stone that he might have put himself inside of it, so that, and now it goes into where somehow the Hyperboreans had like physical women, and the women went down to deliver this gem personally to the king, and all the women come back to Hyperborea except for one who decided to stay. And this oh my gosh, I would just say look at the video, because I'm reading directly from the lore that I'm conveniently forgetting right now. But anyway, just so happens, like, we have, someone like CL, and then you have Yuno, who's obviously a special spiritual hybrid, who's got all these Hyperborean forms. So I think there could be something there, and this is what really strengthened this whole being involved with either Lucifer or Beelzebub thing. Not intentionally, though. But it's really interesting when you start to look at some of these happenings in the story, because it seems to kind of directly reflect what the lore is about. Let's let's see. So you're thinking he can gather or absorb the magic of others. I think it could be possible if they can use ki in that way. I mean, I don't see why not, at least. Bandit Henry does this. One of Asta's swords and mana zones are done using this, right? It would also be opposite of Ladros, who has tons of mana and absorbs attacks, right? So I think it could be something there, right? And then there has to be something. Like, there literally has to be something that he has inherited from Lucida, who's got sealing magic. So, you know, and this is how I framed it in another video, right? Is that, what if Asta's father had light magic, and Lucida, of course, has sealing magic? To seal something, you're essentially hiding it, right? So to seal the aesthetics of light makes it invisible. It's a sealed light. You know, so it fits in that way, and I feel like it could be a stretch, but I also don't feel like it is much of one. Helix, wasn't Charmy found by Yami in a strongman? I don't know if he specifically said Charmy was, but he did catch her in a trap. So, there's that. And Moist found the Sonin. Yeah, he did. Helix. Until Zora removes those bandages, I'm gonna headcanon that he's devil contracted. He's an insane scholar in magic for no reason. That would actually be kind of interesting. Because his grimoire, too, is really sus, and I was hoping Lucifero, when he spotted the grimoire, was gonna, like, you know, trigger some, like, flashback or at least a dialogue about grimoires or that specific one, and it never happened. But Zora's grimoire has all of the moon phases on it. Like, that's, and we see how important the moon is about to become in this series, so I'm just waiting for that ball to drop, to be honest with you. Shelly Jack, do you think Noel and Asta will create the Great Flood with anti-magic and water magic to wipe out the Paladins at the end of the series? Nah. I don't think they need to do anything that extreme, but I do think that it'll get to possibly celestial limits. I just don't... So, okay. To answer your question with one of the theories I've been waiting on to come true, is the idea of Aeons and Black Clover, which are like the gods that have served throughout time. I think Asta or Libe will become one, and this anti-magic will be like this invisible thing, like force, almost like Aether, that's everywhere, but invisible to us, that will disallow people to ever get mana, and they're just all human, and they earn merit through what they can achieve in society on their own, not based on magic, not based on anything else, just what they can do to make it a fair world. Because right now mana makes everything unfair, no matter how you slice it. Yes, we've seen people survive with very little mana to no mana, but in the end it is unfair and unequal, and I think this is something that even Lucius can observe himself, and wants to fix that. But he wants people to still have magic, but just be equal, which I guess makes sense. But the vehicle to that goal is a little bit mad. So that's at least what I've been thinking. But yeah, there's that. I was just kind of backtracking through my tweets to see if there was anything I wanted to talk about on top of anything else. Oh, this was an interesting one too. So this is from the fight in the cave between Yami and Patri. So Yami's asking, what's your real goal here? That grimoire means you're a citizen of the Clover Kingdom, right? Why attack your own country? And he says, Patri says, you're a foreigner too. Haven't you noticed them? The distortions in this country. So what he's talking about, it's the panels that I decided not to include in this, but he starts showing these like I guess flashbacks or instances of people showing greed, you know, extreme wants for power, money, and then discrimination, things like that. So like the sins of man almost. He's labeling as a distortion in this country in particular. And then he says, we were born from these distortions in order to correct them. And this is super ominous to me, right? Because then we have to remember that Lolo Pechka directly says that the Clover Kingdom specifically gave up their divine protection and gained these super special abilities and some arcane abilities. And then we have, you know, distortions and rifts that are allowing devils to travel from their world to a different realm and all that stuff. So it's just weird that he says this, you know, and I don't think it's something we can full on answer right this second. But to say that they were both born from these distortions and acknowledging that he's a foreigner, meaning that it's from a perspective of like while they are considered foreigners there, it almost seems that they're saying, or at least Patri's saying, that the real foreigners are the people in this land. So I don't know. I hope something happens where this is the callback, because this conversation is kind of insane. And if you think about it like that too, this is almost the lore of how devils are supposed to be born, right? From the misdeeds of man. But Patri's involved in this distortion too, and so is Yami. So very interesting. Now this could be, this could have to do with the 6 states of reincarnation too, right? Because we did place elves and we did place the people of Hino, and this would just be the human realm. So it could have a lot to do with that. Could not. We'll see. We talked about that. The foreshadowing of how the people of Hino fight was right there. Oh yeah. We're definitely going to get another one of these moments, though, where Yami teaches Asta key in the cave. And yeah, that's when Asta picks it up. So I think we'll see the shape of Asta Zetten in his fight against either one of the paladins. I think it'd be cool if they hide Asta away to begin with. Because, like I said, I don't think they're there for him. I don't think they even know he's there. So I think it'd be nice if they hid him so that they could train him. Because I think Ryu does understand what Noct was able to understand, is that Asta is the ultimate warrior. And he's going to be the one to save everyone. He's the main character, duh. But I could see Asta also, you know, getting out on his own. You know, especially if things start going a bit south. And learning his Zetten right there. Which would then put Hino in danger, of course. But I think the shape of his Zetten will be, again, biasness. It's my channel, guys. I'm sorry. But I think his Zetten might be able to affect the soul directly. It'll be his first offensive ability using this invisible light that we've been talking about in theory, right? To be able to save Lily. And maybe he won't be able to change them back. And that might not even be necessary, because this is an added plus. Like, these forms are great, right? Lily can now defend herself and help more people. So if let's say he uses that and takes away whatever, like, brainwashing is done, and reverts her soul back. But still in this form, she could potentially still work with Lucius, but as a double agent, if you will. Which would give Lily a pretty cool role in the series, right? Something we wouldn't have thought of, like, in the beginning, like, oh yeah, she'll be a double agent for the good people and stuff like that. But Yeah, and it might not be super apparent either. Like an attack might land. Like we were just talking about reading this chapter. You know, maybe Asta Zetin did get let off, but we just didn't see it because his is not a Zetin to be seen. Just like his attribute might not be something that can be actually seen or even follows the rules of mana itself. So I could very well fall into those lines. And I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of where my head is at. Oh, is this poll over yet? Oh my goodness, you guys are useless. 128 votes, and we got down to 50-50. Are you serious? That's ridiculous. 126 votes, and we could not come up with which one was better. Well, tie goes to me then, because Lucius with the open jacket look was way better than what we got right now. Way better. Oh, this is the compound magic tweet. So remember, Heath came onto the scene and he had followers who also had water magic. He was using compound magic to create the mist and all that stuff, and he already had a pretty large scale attack ready to go. So think of him now in paladin form with Lily, who's already a really good water mage before becoming a paladin. So imagine what kind of stuff they could do. And I'm just thinking that they're going to pull off... I showed it in this... pull this off. But, like, all of that is, like, the span of Hino. You know, worst case. Which, you know what? It would be a recurring thing, because this is the first time this happens, right? And then the next time we see something like this is with Patri trying to kill all of the citizens of the Clover capital. Or kingdom, actually. So then to cover a whole landmass would be the next step. That would be kind of crazy. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about this yet. So I still think that time in Hino is different. And so I think by the time Lily and crew get back, if they get back, not too much time will have passed at all. Like, I'm talking seconds to maybe minutes at most. While Lucius may have been already teleported by Lily before she left to come to Hino to get to Yuno, I think that we're going to see another side-by-side sort of battle happening, right? Where Lucius and Yuno are duking it out. These paladins and the Ryuzen are duking it out as well. So I think things are going to get really fast-paced and really interesting very fast. Oh yeah. So this one's interesting because, as it says here, I learned that Inanna, who's the most ancient form of Astarte, had a twin brother, and it's right here actually. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, by the way, but here's what it says. I'm going to read up to here. So it says the two most common names of the son. Oh no. Sorry. Here we go. I'm going to read up to here, maybe. Oh, maybe here. So it says the name is Utu, which is sun, also known under the Akkadian name Shamash, was the ancient Mesopotamian sun god. He was believed to see everything that happened in the world every day, and was therefore responsible for justice and protection of travelers. Like, that already just sounds like Ryu. As a divine judge, he could be associated with the underworld. Additionally, he could serve as the god of divination, typically alongside the weather god Adad. While he was universally regarded as one of the primary gods, he was particularly venerated in Sipar and Larsa. The moon god Nana, or Sin, and his wife Ningal were regarded as his parents, while his twin sister was Inanna, or Ishtar, who later becomes Astarte. Occasionally, occasionally other goddesses such as Manzat and Pinikir could be regarded as his sisters too. The dawn goddess Aya was his wife, and multiple texts describe their daily reunions taking place on a mountain where the sun was believed to set. Among their children were Kitan. I don't think it really. We really need any of this stuff. But yeah, anyway, that stuff was... It's interesting. I didn't know that Inanna had a twin brother. I know that Astarte has a sister or a dark part of herself that dwells in the underworld, where she descends and meets. So it was just interesting. Let's see. He helped protect Dumuzi's death when the demons tried to drag him to the underworld. Oh, interesting. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. I just didn't know. So I was thinking, like, it would be kind of cool if he was maybe the brother of Astaroth. I think it'd be cool if he was the brother of Lucifero even, too. But I do doubt it. But also kind of wondering, like, with the whole cycles of reincarnation stuff, you know, from here, you know, they could either become devils or elves, you know, who knows? Because we saw Yami was supposed to become the demon god, so that could be one of the natural progressions of the soul, the transmigrations. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, that was one of the other things. This is a good tie for Grey, this whole talk about the 6 states of reincarnation. The specific terminology they use is transmigration. That's when the soul goes from, like, let's say, the Deva state into the human state. That's transmigration, which happens after death. But Grey uses transmutation, which is just changing the shape of something, or the state of something, which she clearly does. But this would definitely be the biggest tie that she has with this, being the Sisters of Fate. Did we talk about Adrenaline this stream? So if you guys haven't seen any of these Adrenaline posts, these are honestly thought-provoking. I'm going to read your comments first before I talk about anything here, though. Bandit. Being able to absorb magic could explain Asta's strength, speed, and durability before he actually got the anti-magic. Yeah, it could. It could. Shelly, you like the theory on Lily. What theory are you talking about? I don't remember. I just talk. That's I don't know. Shelly, I'm thinking Paladin Heath could be possessed by Bale, but I think Asta will separate them with Zetin. I think we will get information from Bale about Lucius's motives and history of devils. So, while I respect that theory, I will say that I do believe that these... Oh, I forgot I changed the chapter. Anyway, I do believe that that Heath and, we'll say just Roddy's for now, are not full-on paladins. I think they're more like disciple-type deals, because they don't have the same physical traits that Lily does, which are mainly the horns. They've got everything else. So, I don't think... I don't really see them having, like, 2 attributes. I think just Lily will have 2 attributes. But yeah, I think this will just be disciples all over again. But a lot more deadly, for sure. As far as Bale goes, I have my reservations because I don't follow. That's the Mathers clip art, and I don't follow that because it has proven time and time again to be inaccurate. And I use Crowley's because that's the one that's actually used the most because of its accuracy. But I don't think he lists Bale. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't. Oh, I shouldn't have typed in Crowley specifically. Oh, there we go. So, yeah, he does not use Bale. And I'll tell you why he does not. Oh, wow, I can't find a better picture. Jeez. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so, look, where Bale would be, in any case, we have Asmodeus, who's usually up here where you see Asura. However, this makes the most sense. So the reason why Baal isn't on this is because Baal is literally Beelzebub. And there's like no other explanation. That's it. They're the same deity. So he's not even listed on Crowley's clip art. And this is the most accurate. This is the one that's referenced the most in lore. With these placings and these specific demons. The only thing is that he refuses to acknowledge Beelzebub by name. He calls him Samael. Which is an interesting choice of words here. But it's the same thing. That is just Beelzebub. Yeah, it's just weird. Crowley does a couple of weird things with his writings. Like, he intentionally misspells, not only misspells, but misidentifies Aishet Zenonim, who is also Babylon, who's the dark goddess, the dark mother. And it's believed that he did that to respect her and her privacy, essentially. And by remaining unknown is showing respect, and we talked about this when we talked about names on this channel 2 years ago, was that knowing the names of these demons gives you the power over them. And while that may seem stupid to us, it's one of those just flaws that they have. And it's one of those things that got Lilith kicked out of the Garden of Eden. I think even Eve towards the end as well. They had uttered the sacred name of God, the 72-letter name of God. And God was like, no, screw you, you're out. Because, it shows that you have power over them. So knowing their names is controlling them, which is why when it comes to names, it gets really tricky. And I've been saying this forever. That's why I'm not too attached to names, except for Lucifuge, and in our series Lucifagus is just like, I don't even know. but yeah. I guess while I'm here on the topic, because we're going to talk about the Zodiac in just a second, is that notice that Beelzebub, he always has a special symbol on his sphere, and here I just love that Crowley, notice he didn't put a planetary symbol next to it. Instead, he puts the Zodiac, meaning that this is the he rules the fixed stars. Now, by fixed stars, we are talking about the Zodiac. This is the stars in our night sky that never ever move. We can always identify things like the Little Dipper, the Big Dipper, Capricorn, Air. We can always identify those in our night sky, so they're labeled as fixed stars. Now, the fixed stars are part of a whole trap for the soul. We won't get into that because we already have multiple times, but that's why I've always, not always, I started to lean away from being connected to Lucifer and more to Beelzebub when he got his star magic, because Beelzebub is literally, and it fits because he's the lord of everything that flies, and there's nothing higher than the stars. So it fits that the Zodiac is there, and that for he's got star magic. So we'll be very less than surprised if Beelzebub turns up in Yuno's future somehow, some way. But yeah, he rules everything below him, which is literally everything except for the Thamael. And that's literally it. Okay, so we were going to talk about Adramelech. There's some things here. Let me read your comments real quick. Helix, do you think Gray's big transformation could be a foreshadow of giants existing? Because he does look like a giant. Oh, he does. I don't know. Could be. Because there's a couple of mages that have spells with the word Jotun in it. So it'd be really nice if Tabata actually included Jotun in the story, as the Four Kingdoms seem to resemble the Norse side of things. Yeah, could be. Okay, so what does this even say? Lucius keeping a Dremelick so close will backfire. I'm almost positive the contract is with him. Note that he makes first contact with the mage's shadow. Oh, okay. I guess we should read this first. So this should be in the Draconian Path playlist too, like this whole chapter. But here we go. So this is the realm of Samael, and as we see, Samael is ruled by Belial and Adremelech. So Belial is a relatively new demon, so I don't even blame Tabata for not using it, but also Belial has more so shifted from being a specific demon to being a more like a state of mind or a state of being, almost similar to like Baphomet. But yeah, like true darkness though. So the poison of God. Here, the alchemical poison is drunk and begins to work its way through the initiate's consciousness. So remember, I go over that chapter talking about Dremelech in the what's it called? In my Thomas Carlson source, I forgot what the book was called for some reason. Oh, it's right there. It says it's the Kabbalah, Klippa, and Goetic magic. So it's the book of the left-hand path of magic. And they talk about this is the first stage of initiation here. So even though you go through Nama and Lilith, those are not even initiatory states. They're just like there, essentially. And you're kind of proving your worth. If you can get past them, then you can start becoming initiated. Adremelech has the poison in his chalice that literally gives you your first experience of death, which you need to shed some of the false reality, which is the illusion, which is what we experience right now. The contact with the personal shadow is made and he becomes the Reaper. So we talk about the shadow self a lot on this channel, especially when it comes to Lucius. Teaching the initiate the mysteries of death and soul flight. Now, remember before he meets Asta and Lily, it seemed as though he had just come from the underworld and eaten Lucifero's heart. Now, it could be that happened maybe a little while ago, or he literally jumped up from there and ran Asta's fade and took Lily from him. But to teach soul flight is really interesting, because then it gives us this opening to where Lucius might not even be confined to his own vessel. He could maybe like take over Hino. Like that's literally what I've been hoping for, because I'm not really into Hino and Asta all of a sudden in the last final saga at odds for whatever reason. Their mindsets have been really similar thus far, and it would make no sense if it just shifted on a dime. So I think if Lucius did in fact master soul flight, maybe he could transfer his soul to Hino, because Yuno's body is actually way more efficient than Lucius's body. He's got to switch between grimoires to use time magic and his own soul magic. It's just like Asta's swords. Having to siphon through all those swords, it becomes detrimental to the battle itself. So having the two grimoires out at once, able to use them simultaneously or separately at will, means he's way more efficient. Then it goes on to say the ruling demon god of the Klippa is Adremelech, who confronts the initiate with the test of insanity, doubt, and disbelief. So there's that, and then there's more to that thread, I guess. I bring up this picture because here, where there's usually a man, they put a deer. And we see that Lucius also has antlers. And we've gone over this picture, but just a quick refresher. The point of this shows Beelzebub's role, Lucifer's role, and Aishet Zenonim's role. This is the supernal triad right here. Well, I guess not Lucifer per se. Well, yeah. Kind of interesting. Okay, so the moon would be Aishet Zenonim, who's the eldest form of Lilith and Nama. And the stars, again, these are fixed stars. They don't ever move. And so this body peeking out is seeing the real heaven. that lies beyond this veil so masterfully constructed by demons, where this is supposed to be the real God, actually, not Lucifer. But yeah, this is the Bythos, is what it's called. But anyway, we see that this deer has antlers. Lucius also has antlers, and it seems that he was able to peer beyond the veil of reality itself as well. So I think that picture has a lot to do with what's going on. Here, pushing the Libe being Lucifer agenda, right there. But here, this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about too. So it looks like most of you probably read this already, but we'll read it on the stream and just to talk about it, just in case there's like some other nuances that I want to like detail a bit. But here we go. So this photo with the goat on top of it is really, really a big tell, I think, because goats, when related to demons, is supposed to be the Baphomet. And the Baphomet, like I was just saying, is not so much a demon more than it is a state of being. And it's just like enlightenment. But as we were just going over in the other video and on, I think we talked a little bit about it on the last stream, enlightenment has good karmic retribution, meaning that you've done mostly good in your life, so that when you ascend to beyond Deva realms, you're like a god of goodness. Whereas if you reach equilibrium or enlightenment and have a negative karmic retribution, it seems that Baphomet is the thing you'd be referencing. Now, neither one necessarily means you are actually good or evil. It's just the actions that you've made thus far in that life that dictate how you end up, right? So now the Baphomet meeting equilibrium. Remember that Baphomet has symbols on both of his arms, and he's pointing upwards with one, downwards with the other. One says coagulate, and the other says disambiguous. Let's look it up. I want to be as accurate as possible. Baphomet coagulates. Coagulate at something. Solve et coagula. Okay. So, yeah, it's the coagulation and the solve. The things that coagulate bring together, the things that solve disperse. So now, it's two sides of that spectrum, completely. So, with Adremelech being a solar deity before falling, it would, and you know what? I wish I didn't even say falling just now. So get that out of your mind. Adremelech is not an angel that actually fell. So here's the interesting thing about the realm of Samael, or Samael in general, is that Samael actually was stationed in heaven, had poison as an attribute, and was essentially the Reaper. And all of those things were literally mentioned in that one little paragraph that we just read. However, we do add the lore that he's a solar deity by nature. Now, long story short, Samael in heaven had this fetish for demon chicks and could not get enough of them. So instead of falling, it's and I'm of course making light of like what the actual lore is, but God was essentially like, yo, we don't do that around here. That's a little weird. So I'm not going to kick you out, but if you can still work for me down there, and you can do whatever you want there, then that would be ideal. And that's what happened. So Samael adopts this role where he's not really fallen. He never fell. It was just that it was almost a choice or a suggestion that he goes there and he did, and he's still the Reaper, still attributed to poison, and carries out Reaper-like duties for God and not necessarily Satan. However, he does work for Satan, and it's just an interesting dynamic that happens there. So now, taking the solar deity, given that, let's say Adremelech falls under this story that I just told you, right? his power would, of course, become perverted, which means this bright solar power that he could have had ends up darkening, and we do have a black sun. Now, it's not attributed to Adramelech at all. It's actually attributed to my favorite devil that I like to talk about is Belphegor, or the Antichrist, which we have, of course, talked about a lot on this channel. So, the sun that is shown on Lucius's forehead is black on his what side? What side is it? Didn't I just see Lucius on my timeline? I don't know. We'll just look him up. I'm too lazy. Let's see what side it's on. So it's on his right side, right? Okay, cool. So on the right side is black. But then it switches over and becomes light, and it gives us this purified form. Now, this purification I don't think it has anything to do with his innate soul magic, or else there'd be no point to waiting this long to carry out this plan. I think something needed to happen, and I think Lucius essentially speed ran, maybe not even speed ran, like he went through the whole left-hand path and became initiated, and through this was probably even contracted to Adramelech, and this gave him the ability to tap into not only dark powers but the light powers as well. So I think this explains why Adramelech is being held so close, and whatever kind of rule that Lucius has over all the other devils, Adramelech seems to be free of, and I think that's the reason why. Now, I know people are convinced like it belongs to Astaroth, and it very well could be, because Astaroth is also sometimes conflated with the sun. When talked about it as Astarte, which ends up being inaccurate in the end, but it is there. And I think it just makes more sense, and I think with what we've been given, that Julius, or maybe Lucius, but I think Julius himself is more so Astaroth, as a full-on reincarnation and not an incarnation at all. And now it goes back to the original lore of Astaroth in the realm that he rules, which is the Breakers. And it's said that Astaroth spreads himself so thin because he's so kind that he breaks. So it's kindness to a fault. So I think Julius coming out to be a protector and a benevolent person ends up being more accurate to this idea that he is completely reincarnated as Astaroth, while Lucius lied in the background, maybe, lets Astaroth have his body while he's going through all of these initiatory processes with the devils, and then when he finally completes it, he takes over, and that of course would require the opening of at least one gate so that the energies of the Qliphoth can run rampant in the world. So I think the whole plan was for Lucius to come back out once he was done with the initiatory process. So let's see if I missed anything. So, okay. Then there's also other stuff. Before I get into the other stuff, that was a long, long talk about that. And we're going to get into some other stuff about Adramelech, which is really cool and something that Tabata has been including, but no one's ever really looked at, because it seemed up until this point, at least for me, it just never really mattered. But let's see what you guys are saying real quick. Helix, do you think... Oh, I saw that. Shelly, that does make sense with... Immon's ultimate is Baelmon? Oh, is that like Digimon? Shelly, possible can be connected to Asta. I personally don't think so. I'm not seeing it. Shelly, I am thinking Asta's real name could be Asahi, means morning sun. I don't know. Because Asta is his real name. She left a note for Father Orsi. Jack, do you think Adrenaline could be the one who's responsible for cursing Lucina Henry? I don't know. I really don't know. Could be. I guess nothing's really off the table. Okay. I'm going to talk about this and I'll probably wrap it up. But this one is actually really interesting. I'm curious to see what Tabata is about to do with this. So, that whole talk about Beelzebub being the ruler of the skies and having the fixed stars under his rule comes into play here. Now, remember, Adremelech is part of the Order of the Fly, meaning he works directly for Beelzebub, who is guided by Lucifer himself. So now here, we talked about that. So the goat belongs to the zodiac sign Capricorn. The zodiac are also called the 12 houses or the 12 mansions. Now remember, there was that moment in the fight against Lucifero where Adremelech refers to Rill himself, not a spell, that's a typo, as a mansion. He says that mansion's power is what kept him in this fight. This might be telling us that all zodiac signs of characters could be coming into play now. I'm not really sure. Oh, wait. So here. I forgot to add this in. So this mansion, the Capricorn, the mansion of Capricorn, is the gate of heaven. But given that there is a devil involved, this would be the gate of hell. This gate is where the souls pass through and is also commonly known as the gate of death. Now, that's important because what we just said and what we just read is that Adremelech introduces you to your first death that you have. You have 3 deaths to go through in the initiatory process. He gives you your first one. And this being the gate of death seems pretty important here. So this is important as it follows the draconian path where the mage descends and meets Adremelech, and this is where the mage experiences the first death as Adremelech has them drink the poison to begin the process of opening their third eye, which will allow them to see reality for what it is, which is really an illusion to trap souls in the reincarnation cycle known as the 6 paths of reincarnation, or samsara by Eastern philosophies. So then, let's see. Cool. So I think I was saying, I'm not sure how the Zodiac will play a part in the series, if at all, but we do have a Star Mage. If his power potential reaches celestial boundaries, which I'm sure it will, then changing the shape of the stars could be part of the endgame events for the series, as there are civilizations that believe that stars were connected to the soul or spirit of a person. Now, if you haven't seen this video that's on the screen right now, I would suggest looking at it, because I do talk about all of the possibilities of star magic at its maximum potential, and one of those is shaping stars so that certain events happen, so he could really ultimately control destiny. And it gets really cool. But if you haven't seen it, watch that. But I'll end this thought with something to look out for. Adremelech rules in the realm known as Samael. This is the realm of trickster spirits. Deities like Loki are said to reside here. While the ruler is not the highest or most violent devil within Qliphoth, he is specifically noted to be the most devious and cunning of all the Satans. If Lucius is contracted with him, he's playing with fire. Even if not contracted, the fact that Lucius keeps him close will backfire if Tabata sticks to the lore, which it seems that he has been for the most part. So, I guess before totally ending this, I don't think that these devils are like from a specific rift or anything like that. I think these are former humans. And this goes along with the light sun and dark sun that we see Lucius have. If he's able to get people to tap into their dark sun and turn them into devils, then they have an army here. So, and while that happens, it still goes under their whole agenda where they're not actually harming anyone yet, at least. These people can still be saved by Lucius as soon as he chooses to. If that is the case, at least. But I just find it very interesting in this encounter with Hino. There was nothing stating anything about Adremelech's power, except that he evaded all of Hino's attacks, meaning he's at least very fast, and at least smart enough to know how to counterplan against things like conjunction, right? So, just a very interesting character, and I still keep in the back of my head, he works for Beelzebub. Like, they're in lore, at least, right? So I have to assume he's carrying out the things that Beelzebub wants to, / Lucifer, and it could end up benefiting Asta and Liebe in the very end. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of my thoughts. It's getting a little late. Streaming on for a long time. I'm hungry. I got homework to do. I got an exam to do. And I got a plan. We're in the middle of a tournament. We got 4 games this weekend. Life's busy. So I've got to go. But I do thank you guys for tuning in. I hope to see you probably tomorrow. I do have the day off. And if I get enough work done tonight, I'll probably do some streaming. See if we can talk about some stuff. If not, I'll see you guys when I see you guys. But again, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. It's been Jack Goes to Go. You either know or you don't.